Thank you, janitor. And thank you to Strings and Things. They did a great job. Well, good morning, Faith UCC.
Good morning.
Here gathered in these walls, but also around the world, I'm imagining right now as well. So we greet everyone who is with us in body or in body and spirit, and ask that we join together in our gathering of spirits. All creation sings a story of great splendors to declare. When we contemplate its beauty, we are called forth into prayer.
We chant to stand in silence. God is discovered everywhere.
When we stumble on new knowledge, when new insights help us grow, we are quick to rediscover just how much we do not know.
But the universe smiles gently as our theories come and go.
Outer space and inner being both have secrets they conceal. Galaxies so overwhelming, deep emotions that we feel.
All in God are judged as sacred. It is God they all reveal.
Ageless mysteries still excite us. Time and space we must explore. God the presence and surrounding, God the ever wondrous more.
Not just found by science labors, but in praise when we adore.
So let us rise in body as we are able and join together in our open hymn, One Ohana, One World. Indeed, we do welcome everyone to this gathering of spirits as we seek to be and do what we've been called to be and do in our Jesus way as a congregation in love for this world. We do welcome everyone who is here and again online. Glad you're with us and sharing with us in this time of service. For those, as I always say, for those who don't know who I am, I'm Carl Vermeigen. I'm not Mike McMillan. We haven't forgot who he is yet, have we? Good. And for those who don't know me, I'm Carl Vermeigen. So I'm glad to be here and leading in the worship service this morning. Let us at this time, though, turn towards a time of reflection and silence and centering. So if you would join with me in doing that, put yourself in that place of comfort with maybe your feet on the floor, eyes closed, and your palms opened to receive your daily bread of grace and mercy and compassion, so that you would be fed to be feeding others. push away all that gets in the way, the clutter and schedules, the disappointments and challenges, to just be you, your true and authentic self, and receiving the spirit of this moment, this sacred moment. Hear now these words from John O'Donohue, from Matins, the first prayer of the day. Somewhere out at the edges, the night is turning and the waves of darkness begin to brighten the shores of dawn. The heavy dark falls back to earth, and the freed air goes wild with light. The heart fills with fresh, bright breath, and thoughts stir to give birth to color. I rise today in the name of silence, womb of the word. In the name of stillness, home of belonging. In the name of the solitude of the soul and the earth. I rise today blessed by all things, wings of breath, delight of eyes, wonder of whisper, intimacy of touch, eternity of soul, urgency of thought, miracle of health, embrace of God. May I live this day compassion of heart, clear in word, gracious in awareness, courageous in thought, and generous in love. Amen. A service of worship, I think at its fullest, is when it allows us to journey inward, as we do in that centering time, to focus on the divine light that shines in each of us, our light, and to rest ourselves into God. But also the service needs to be a journey outward. But right now, let us journey inward as the choir leads us to gentle voice. I want you to look at the picture, and hopefully that is a gentle place, calm waters, restorative waters. But now we're going to go on the journey outward. Okay, how's that? This morning we're going to examine the story of Jonah, the whole entire book. If you read Jonah, you know it's only 4 brief paragraphs, so you're okay. We can do this. It is actually a tragic comedy play in 4 acts. This is a fable that does include some historic details, but it's not meant to be taken actual as history. Rather, it is to be read as a hysterical, truthful, theological parable. It's playful, but it's not frivolous. It's a God story, so that it's about constantly how our lives are to be rewritten again and again into God's story. It's intended to be a blatant and blunt reminder to the faith community of God's truest intention for creation, the just restoration and healing of the world, the wanting of all people, the wanting of all creation, even including the animals. Jonah is one more epic tale in the face of other biblical texts we're well aware of, where we hear of a punishing God. But Jonah stands as a reminder again and again that the true and divine nature of our God's justice is not punitive, but restorative. Or as Jonah eventually and almost reluctantly concedes and confesses, God, I knew you were sheer grace and mercy, not easily angered, rich in love, and ready at the drop of a hat to turn your plans of punishment into a program of forgiveness and reconciliation. As we meet Jonah, we're going to find that he is a most reluctant and pretty much of an inept prophet. So we know there is hope for us in the church as well. To get started, so that we might properly hear the story, I have one big favor to ask of you of the congregation, and that is if you would all rise. Now I'm going to ask you to all to move to a different seat than where you are seated.
Start. We gotta switch. Okay, forget it.
Okay, you all can be seated now. Well, I think now we're all good and ready to begin, or maybe you're actually good and mad. Confused, that's good too. Because we know you all like those safe seats where you sit every week. As progressive as this congregation is, you all sit in the same place every week, you know that. Including me in the back of the choir. First, we want to hear this, the first opening part of our story. I don't suggest you read this to the kids at night before bed, though. Let us begin. One day long ago, God's word came to Jonah, Amittai's son. Right there we have a clue that we probably don't get, because the word Amittai means faithfulness. And we'll see just how faithful Jonah is. The word comes up, and on your feet and on your way to the big city of Nineveh. Everybody know where Nineveh is? Today it would be where Turkey is. It's in that province of the world. And I want you to go and preach to them. They're in a bad way, and I can't ignore it any longer. But Jonah got up out of his favorite seat and went in the other direction to Tarshish. Do we know where Tarshish is? It's hard to understand that story if we don't know, isn't it? It's actually at the base and the coastline of Spain. So you figure the distance between Turkey, where he was supposed to go, and Spain, where he ends up trying to go. And he was, as we learned, running away from God. He went down to the port of Joppa and found a ship headed for Tarshish. He paid the fare and went on board, joining those going, as far away from God as he can get. But God sent a huge storm at sea, and the waves were towering. The ship was about to break into pieces. The sailors were terrified. They called out in desperation to their gods. They threw everything they were carrying overboard to lighten the ship. Meanwhile, Jonah had gone down into the hold to take a nap. He was sound asleep. The captain came to him and said, "What's this? Sleeping? Get up. Pray to your God. Maybe your God will see we're in trouble and rescue us." Then the sailors said to one another, "Let's get to the bottom of this. Let's draw straws to identify the culprit on this ship who's responsible for this disaster." So they drew straws, and Jonah got the short straw. When they grilled him, "Confess, why this disaster? What is your work? Where do you come from? What's your country? What family?" He told them, "I am a Hebrew. I worship God, the God of heaven who made sea and land." At that, the men were frightened, really frightened, and said, "What on earth have you done then?" As Jonah talked, the sailors realized that he was running away from God. They said to him, "What are we going to do with you to get rid of this storm?" By this time, the sea was wild, totally out of control. Jonah said, "Throw me overboard in the sea. Then the storm will stop. It's my fault. I'm the cause of the storm. Get rid of me and you'll get rid of the storm." But no, the men in turn started to row back towards shore. They made headway, but could not move any further. The storm had only gotten worse and worse, wild and raging. And then they prayed to Jonah's God. "Oh God, don't let us drown because of this man's life. Don't blame us for his death. You are God. Do what you think is best." And so they took Jonah and threw him overboard immediately into the sea, and the sea was quieted. The sailors were so darn impressed that they started to worship Jonah's God, offered a sacrifice, and made vows. At some point, or most likely at many points in our lives, we too have heard from that interior voice, or from the conscience or ethical awakening, or some exterior voice from somebody or somewhere else, either gentle or sublime or terrifying, to not only gather in intellectual assent to the idea of God, but to be moved and to move. We know we are called to do and be more. That God is not just a cosmic mystery, but that God is also a call to action, putting our feet where our heart is. Does anybody know what I'm talking about, that voice that we've heard? Like many pastors, we like to tell a story of when we were called to ordain ministry within the church. Actually, it's mandated in my denomination if you want to be a salaried, pension-benefited member of the tribe. When pressed, I always relate the story. It was taking place during undergraduate studies. In my senior year, following my transition for maybe my third major while there, I turned to religion and philosophy and ethics. And through the courses and the teachers and profound witnesses of others, I became convinced that I should continue in that same vein and be called to the fulfilling Jesus' revolution of peace and justice on earth. At that time, Beth Ann and I were married, and so I revealed to her one night that I had received the call to ministry. It was in her wise and insightful response, she said, "I think they got the wrong number." The verdict is still out too, by the way. Yes, as this congregation, we know that we are indeed called and challenged to continue on a pathway of service called the Jesus Way. This is our way of shaping our words and our actions into the lifestyle, a lifestyle of commitment, living from the divine presence that is incarnate in us. We are to make real other-serving love in forms of mercy, grace, forgiveness, reconciliation, peacemaking, social and restorative justice, not only among and between us, but in the larger community, even to the nation, even to the world. And all of that's true. Who wouldn't want to hitch a ride to a cruise ship that might take us to Tarshish to get away? Particularly in this day when we see the extreme and partisan divisions, the polarization in our country, the attacks on freedom that see teachers being told what they can and cannot say in a classroom, freedom for doctors to provide women's health who are now leaving the state because they may not be able to, about radical nationalism, isolationism, and xenophobia, or the dangerous vitriol and violence surrounding the work of upholding values of diversity and equity and inclusion, or the blinded tribalism even within Christianity and other faiths and non-faith communities. As Dave Brooks explores in his article on The Atlantic, how America got so mean, he realizes that we have become an increasingly sad country and a mean country. Is this not the time for us to name our Nineveh, that place where we need to go and doing and restoring God's restorative justice for the earth? And so we continue. Then God assigned a huge fish to swallow Jonah. Jonah was in the belly of that fish for 3 days and nights. By the way, it's not a whale, that's not even a word in the Hebrew. That's a comical way we tried to make the story work, I guess. And from the belly of that wild fish, he prayed. Now, I will not read his prayer. You can read that on your own time. But it seems to me this prayer was put in later by somebody else who wanted to clean up the story a bit. It's one of the prayer about, it's filled with self-justification about what Jonah's done. So anyhow, I'll let you read that at home on your own. Jonah, as we see, was hoping he might be able to rent a vacation condo on the isolated Mediterranean beach. But instead, he is surrounded by darkness and dank and the fishy aromas of gastric mucus and hydrochloric digestive fluids. Is that too much information? But our truth tells us in this room that before there can be real and significant new life and resurrection and wisdom within us, there must be some form of death. 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of that sea monster. I think we know another story of somebody else who was good as dead for 3 days and 3 nights. And how did that end up? We are a part of this continual cycle of transformation in our lives that moves us through life, through death, to transformation, and back to life again. Maybe these walls in this place of worship are intended for us to be seen as a belly of a sea monster for us, to take in that smell that apparently you did when I said those words, and to feel that darkness and that dank. We gather here, as the saying goes, to be comforted, yes, in our afflictions, but also to be afflicted when we become way too comfortable. As Annie Diller said in one of her sermons, that when we come into this room, the ushers should issue us life preservers and signal flares. They should lash us to our seats, for the sleeping God may wake someday and take offense, or the waking God may draw us to where we can never return. And God spoke to the fish and vomited up Jonah on the seashore. I'm just telling you what's in the Bible. And so God spoke to Jonah a second time. Up on your feet and on your way to that big city of Nineveh, preach to them. They're in a bad way, and I can't ignore it any longer. This time, Jonah started off straight to Nineveh, obeying God's orders to the letter. Nineveh was a big city, very big. It took 3 days to walk across it. Jonah entered the city, went 1 day's walk, and began to preach. And I'm guessing the voice was something like this. In 40 days, Nineveh will be smashed. But the people of Nineveh listened and trusted God. They proclaimed a citywide fast, and they dressed in burlap to show their repentance. Everyone did it, the rich and poor, the famous and obscure, leaders and the followers. And when the message reached the king of Nineveh, he got off the throne, threw down his royal robes, dressed in burlap, and sat in the dirt. Then he issued a public proclamation throughout Nineveh, authorized by him and his leaders. Not one drop of water, not one bite of food for man, woman, or animal, including your herds and flocks. Dress them all, both people and animals, in burlap, and send up a cry for help to God. Everyone must turn around, turn back from an evil life and the violent ways that stain their hands. Who knows? Maybe God will turn around and God will change God's mind about us, quit being angry with us, and let us live. God saw what they had done, that they had turned away from their evil ways. God did change God's mind about them, and he did not do what he was going to do. Indeed, Jonah is resurrected from the belly of that sea monster and given the same charge as he was once before, and all reluctant followers need to be hearing that message again. Up on your feet and get to going to Nineveh. Go to the hard place, even in spite of the hard and horrific history that you share with the people of Assyria who destroyed Israel. Reluctantly, and with little enthusiasm or empathy, Jonah does what God commands him to do. And so even grumpy Christians can be effective. Know how hard it is for us to say the words. The enemy, the other, the one who would not meet the requirements to be welcome in our tribe, does exactly what we're called to do, to turn and to walk on a different path, the path of truthfulness, forgiveness, and reconciliation. Even the animals were in burlap. Can we do even less as we turn again to the path we're given? Jonah in the fourth act is a change as well, as we know that God has changed God's mind, and wondering if we will too. It's interesting, and probably even more humorous too, that what Jonah does with this good news about what the people in Nineveh did is that he gets mad at God. What in the heck are you doing, God? And why did you put me in this terrible position? I already know about you, that you are sheer grace and mercy, that you don't get easily angered, you're rich in love, and you're ready at the drop of a hat to turn your plans of punishment into that program of forgiveness and reconciliation. God made them Jonah's neighbors. And that's the whole point of the story, is the point of our lives. Jonah indeed does get discouraged. He goes off and sulks, sits under a tree, wonders what he has gotten himself in what is tomorrow going to be like for him. And then interestingly enough, the heat of the day is making him too hot. So what God does is he gets a tree to grow right next to him so they'll have shade, this loving God. Jonah must have been feeling, okay, I guess everything's okay about this. Well, of course, the worm comes at night and kills the plant. And what does Jonah do? He gets mad at God once again. We're a hard bunch to work with. But God in this story, as we're told in Jonah, is one of the few of the books in the Bible that ends with a question. And the question is this: Jonah, why do you get mad at a tree over which you did nothing to do to make it grow or let it survive, but you're so worried about a little tree that dies? What about those 120,000 Ninevites? What about all those animals that have turned so that you could be neighbor to them and they can be neighbor to you? Church, we need to name our Ninevites, and then we must get up and go with our feet and go there. Wherever it is that we are reluctant to go in healing relationships, or forming the beloved community among us, or caring for the earth, or being the one Ohana. From this belly of the sea monster, this morning we are being sent again. Yes, God vomits us up onto the shores of Dunedin and beyond to walk the challenging path of restorative justice in the wanting of God. May it be so among us. Amen. Amen. put tissues up here. What's the matter? Thank you, choir. We've come to that point of sharing joys and concerns. And I do have some concerns that have been shared with me that I need to share with you as a congregation. Requests from prayers that come from Linda Bridge. She had learned that her young nephew, who's just 38 years old, has been discovered to have a very large aortic aneurysm, and we're going into surgery. He's a very loving person. He was born without one arm, but he's dedicated his life to working with people who are amputees, and just a dear, dear person. So he asks prayers for him, and I should have his name, shouldn't I? I don't see it. Anyhow, we'll hold her young nephew in our prayers. Continued prayers with Jeff and Betsy Kinnear. Jeff is out of town. They're traveling a little bit. Before he returns, he's going to be getting 6 months of chemotherapy. So I'll need to walk with them again through that. Also share from our own lives, we have a dear, dear friend who on Friday was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, very serious condition. We're going to see the details Monday, yes, in terms of where she goes from here in treatment, but Susan Davis is her name. Victor's family is sharing the mourning of the loss of his cousin Bernard. Also, Lori and Victor's friends whose house was flooded during Idalia. Their names are Tip and Betsy. And for Lori's friend Russ's mom, who is recovering from surgery. All of them. Other concerns, joys to be shared? Yes.
Carol Palin, her only son, passed away unexpectedly.
Oh, gee. Tell me your first name. I'm sorry.
Carol,
Carol Palin,
her son.
her son passed away. Others?
My Aunt Grace passed away. Didn't get that.
Sorry. Tom's aunt passed away.
Grace.
Grace is her name. Thank you for helping to share with you larger and also our larger audience. Others? Michelle.
Our neighbor Jerry, who just lost her husband.
Yes.
Robert Schleich, who lost his wife.
For Robert, who?
Schleich, my brother.
Your brother.
He's lost his
All right, let us bring our lives together in prayer. I'm sorry. Thank you for reminding me about Joyce. Yes, we hopefully, come on, get Joy.
Joy here, the joy is that those of us are here, that's our joy.
All right, we'll go with that.
That we're here.
And football season's back.
Michigan won, right?
Okay. This is not ESPN in here. No.
We're not no expect from either.
Yes,
You got a joy.
sure.
You got a baby boy coming.
So is Sister thrilled about this? Oh, she is. Okay, it's a brother. That's good. Yeah, she'll raise him real well, I'm sure. Excellent. Let us gather our spirits in prayer. Dear God, you know that we carry in our lives so many things that bring us concern as well as sadness, as well as pain for others that are so deeply friendshiped into us. We ask for your healing and guiding presence to be with all those who've been named and those that we do carry in our own hearts. Give them the release that they need, the assurance they need that your love is never ending, that even in life and in death, we always belong to you. Lord, we're grateful we've received this day our daily bread, of the fellowship and joy of what it is just to be together in this place, even if it does smell like, no, I won't go there. For here you do indeed restore us to what we've been created to be, created in your image, to be that light to each other and the light to the world. And so empower us. O Holy One, grant us a spiritual vision that integrates love for you and love for our neighbor with love for the earth. Let it be an ecological vision, acknowledging and rejoicing in the interconnectedness of all creation, so that we may see every creature a sister or brother. In this time of violence, time of the profusion of assault weapons and war in Europe, in Sudan, and elsewhere. This time when many politicians seem to believe that more guns we have, the safer we'll be, or the more bombs we have, the safer we'll be. We need again Jesus' message and example of nonviolence as never before. God, may we be known as a community known for love, a community gathered around a table of fellowship and reconciliation, a people armed with the basin and towel of service. May we not become violent warriors, but nonviolent mirrors of Christ for others to see and to follow with us, joined together as one family on this path. Today, as a larger and larger percentage of wealth is being concentrated in the hands of fewer and fewer individuals and families, may we exemplify an alternative value system where the poor, the leper, and the outcast matter more than money, luxury, or power. Where our current economic models place no intrinsic value on creation except as a source for raw materials that we consume. Help us redeem and reassess and revalue everything, so we may discover the priceless beauty of the earth and its creatures, including all of our neighbors and even ourselves. We lift these prayers in the name of the one who gave us a prayer to pray when we're together. This rendition of the Lord's Prayer. Ground of being, in which we live, move, and share our being, in awe and wonder, we hallow such amazing grace and presence. The beloved community is your dream. Your restorative justice is our desire. Your nonviolent peace is our pathway. Your unconditional love is our promise. May we share our daily bread with all. Forgive as freely as we are forgiven. Walk in humility as sisters and brothers, offering daily expressions of gratitude and generosity, until the day when we celebrate the oneness, relationship, and interdependence of everything that exists. Amen. And it's time for announcements. Do I do the money first or afterwards? Thank you for all your generosity. We are a generous people and a gracious people, and grateful for all the gifts that you do share. And as you can see, if you're watching online or if you're in the room right now, you can use all of those sources to make an offering if you'd like to support this ministry we share through Faith UCC. Okay, let's do the announcements, and I think there's going to be a couple. First, I wanted to share that, again, as we've mentioned often before, there is still dire need over at Dunedin Cares. We offered 80 pounds last week, and we've done up to what's our highest number? Is Lori here?
I think it was around 320.
That's amazing, isn't it? I think you've said we're probably one of the largest contributors on a regular basis. So again, how generous you are, but they need your help. It's been the lowest, I think, in a year and a half, they said, in terms of the shelves. And one of the things they need is pasta sauce. So, but anything that'll be helpful, we would greatly appreciate it.
Pasta sauce and what?
There's pasta sauce too, BOGO at Publix. We need to get reimbursed for that commercial. All right. Marge Miller, I know you have something you want to share, announcement?
Good morning. First of all, let me say Happy Grandparents' Day. Yay, one of my favorite holidays. Also, let me announce that our Peace Labyrinth is now listed on the National Labyrinth Society's registry for the Worldwide Labyrinth Locator. Faith UCC.
You don't have to go to France, they just come here.
Just come here. Have any of you been to a Nan Colton performance? I've been to several, and I have to tell you, she is amazing and someone you want to see. Nan Colton does live historical performances, usually at local libraries and usually for free. Miss Colton takes on the personas and costumes of famous women throughout history, and I swear it's like she's channeling them. I've seen her perform Virginia Woolf, Edith Roosevelt, and Agatha Christie. Some of her performances have been Louisa May Alcott, Georgia O'Keeffe, Margaret Bourke White, and many, many more. Check out her website to learn more about her. Not only does she portray the characters, but she writes the scripts and creates the costumes. She has performed around the world and is truly an incredible talent. All that being said, when I was at the Countryside Library recently, I saw a flyer announcing that Nan Colton is coming to that library on Sunday, September 17th, that's next Sunday, from 2 to 3, to present Miep Geiss. I think I'm saying that right. Remembering Anne Frank. Miep Geiss is the woman who hid the Frank family for years and even saved Anne Frank's diary from falling into Nazi hands. I immediately knew that this was something that Anam Cara wanted to share with the congregation, so I am bringing this to your attention. You don't need to sign up for anything, just show up at the library next Sunday at 2 o'clock. Did I mention it's free? I'll leave some information on the bulletin board in the entryway. I thought we could go to Panera's afterwards to talk about it. And so come out if you can and witness Nan Colton take on yet another historical figure. As a side note, September 17th is Rosh Hashanah, one of the highest holy days in the Jewish religion. It's their new year. As they say, Shana Tova, Happy New Year. And one other mention while I'm up here, Countryside Library is also having an educational program on Saturday, September 30th from 2 to 3 about Florida native plant gardening, an initiative that our Green Team is very excited about for Faith UCC. I'll also post information for that on the bulletin board. Thank you.
Dan Mann has an announcement.
Morning. I want to give you a quick update on the Homeless Empowerment Program. We've had 3 major changes come about here recently, and they truly are game changers. Number one, for those of you in the past that have worked at HEP, we used to have to do like 3.5 hours. Presently, it's down to 2 hours for us. That's a huge, huge change. Number two, now pay attention, there's a test on this afterwards. Number two is the fact that those of you in the past that have tried to sign up for this, it was an ordeal. It was like taking wagons clean to Oregon or something. It was a long process. That is no longer the case. We are all covered under our agreement with HEP under the church. So when we have new individuals who are interested in this, you can be working just like that. And number 3 on this is we have a computer program application called Sign Up Genius. And it makes it so easy because you can look at the whole year and say, that's the Wednesday I want to work. Gee, I'm on vacation, I can't do this one. It is a wonderful and quick way to sign up for HEP. Now, it really boils down to one simple thing. Are you willing to work 2 hours a month? Not 20, just 2. Those of you who are interested in that, see me later. And by the way, one of the unique parts of HEP is that you get to see the individuals that you're serving. You get a chance to look them right in the eye and the smile. That's huge to them. And the most important part is as follows: not just us seeing them, but them seeing us. That tells them that we care about them and we want to be with them and help them in every way we can. Hope you're interested. Thank you.
Any others?
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
Don't forget, Oktoberfest is October 29th, and that's the same day as the craft fair. And if you want a table, if you make any crafts, see Tom Miller about it, and he will give you more information. October 29th.
Preferably email or text message for me. Thank you.
Yes.
Good morning. I hope everyone enjoyed Strings of Things. We're going to be playing at World Peace Day coming up on the 21st. Is it at 6?
6 o'clock, Weaver Park.
So please come join us.
And sing with us. 2 songs.
September 21st, 6 o'clock at Weaver Park. Right. Meet at the Peace Pole. Excellent. Okay. We're going to have a closing hymn. Have you ever had one of those here? Yeah, sure. We're still going to get to sing Let There Be Peace, so don't worry. So let us rise as we're able and join in this closing word. Join me in this closing litany. Oh God, bless us with discomfort and easy answers, half-truths and superficial relationships.
So that we may live from deep within our hearts.
May God bless us with anger and injustice, oppression and exploitation of God's creations.
So that we may work for justice, freedom, and peace.
May God bless us with tears to shed for those who suffer pain, rejection, hunger, and war.
So that we may reach out our hands to comfort them and to turn their pain toward joy.
And may God bless us with just enough foolishness to believe that we can make a difference in the world.
So that we can do what others claim cannot be done, to bring peace, justice, and oneness into all the world.
All right, let us sing our way out of here together. Go to Nineveh.